Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to the Nation's Corner. I am front row as always. Joining me as always is the great and powerful Debhausen. Deb, what's up?
What's up? I am feeling good tonight. Got some new stuff on my wall.
I see. Take us on a mini tour.
If I can do this in mirror. So I got my Always Faithful Greca head and the Hydra head. I got this beautiful Sting Darby painting from AJ Moore. Look him up on Twitter. He's very awesome. I have this Dark Order 8x10. I know it's hard to see. That is signed by John Silver and Alex Reynolds. I have this sweet Moxley picture, cigarette and bottle of Jack in hand. I bought it from this Twitter page called Orange Crush. Look them up. They're very nice. This beautiful signed 8x10 from the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. And my micro brawlers from Debhausen and Bully. So that's what we've got so far.
Wow, it's a big upgrade from the terrible towels we had up before.
Yeah, well, Tony would agree as well, but, you know, it is what it is.
All right, so we got a packed show tonight. There's a lot to talk about. We have a special guest, Kayla Sparks, who's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. I did want to mention that, of course, you know, as we were promoting over the last few weeks, tonight is Mission Pro Wrestling's Sea to Shining Sea, where Laney Luck will be challenging Thunder Rosa with the LaGrecas in either corner, Dave in Laney's corner, and Violetta in Thunder's corner. That is going to main event the show tonight. That is going to be something special. But there's a lot of great stuff on that show tonight. We're going to be jumping off here and then go right to Title Match Network. But we do have a bunch of people who are on site. Who do we have that's there in the building tonight?
So we have the amazing Tony Justice is there. Garza and his beautiful wife, Robin. We have Money Mark out there holding it down, and Sean from New Orleans and RA from Oklahoma.
Man, that's a packed house. There's a lot of people out there representing the nation. Although I think the majority of them might be pulling for Thunder Rosa, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
We shall see. So we do have a special guest tonight. Kayla Sparks has been recently returned to the wrestling scene, and she's got a lot of interesting stories. I want to bring her in, welcome her to the show. Kayla, how are you?
Hello.
Good.
Welcome to the Nation's Corner.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Sure, absolutely. So we were talking to, we're sponsors of Mission Pro Wrestling, and Brian and Thunder Rosa are very, they're big supporters of ours that we're grateful for. And we were talking to Brian about potential guests for the show, and yours was the first name that came up. Brian said, "You've got to get Kayla on the show."
That's
so
awesome. Yeah.
Here you are.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. Yeah.
So I know you had a long absence from wrestling. I know you had talked about this in other interviews, and maybe if you could just, briefly touch on that, and then I have a bunch of questions for you. So what I find interesting is you started pretty much in the Attitude Era.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It was 2002. I was 13 at the time. Yeah, that was so long. I feel like that was so long ago, but.
So how long were you wrestling before you had to step away?
So I wrestled around the Northeast for 6 years or so. I had to stop around when I was 19, due to I had a really bad concussion, which forced me to stop, which I was really disappointed about. But yeah, that's mainly why I was out for so long.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not fun. Concussions. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that I'm okay now. There's no issues in the ring, so that's a good sign.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. And I know Deb has some questions for you, but before we get there, I just wanted to touch on who was your trainers originally? If you were training that long ago at a very young age, who was training you at 13, 14 years old?
Yeah, his name was Chip Stetson, and he was a local wrestler there in Schenectady, New York. I don't know if you're familiar with the area. It's like it's in upstate New York. He he's a great guy. He was more like a father figure for me, like being that young, and like he really, he not just like taught me wrestling and stuff, but he was just always like a really good person to talk to, and like he was always there for me. Like wrestling was my escape, from everything that was going on when I was younger. I dealt with like, bullying in school and things like that. So like wrestling for me was like really an escape away from that, and it made me happy. So like, he was a good like mentor for me in and out of the ring, and he still is actually today. He's actually he's training me again, like back in the ring. Like he's still around after like he has like over 25 plus years of wrestling experience. So like it's really nice that he's still around helping me. And of course, his son Shane actually he just graduated from high school, and he's been around wrestling his whole life, and life's just coming full circle for me because I helped Shane when he was like a baby, and like now he's just graduated from high school, and now he's actually getting opportunities with AEW too. So like, I'm just so proud of like Chip and Shane, his son, and like, it's they're like family to me. So it's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, in today's wrestling world, women's wrestling has come so far in the last, decade and a half. Since you stepped away from the ring, the women's wrestling is so different. What do you think about the current climate of women's wrestling today, and how different is it being a female wrestler now from when you were younger?
Oh my gosh, it's such a difference. Like, I know women's wrestling is a lot more respected now than it was back then. Like, like when I was wrestling, and, women, we didn't really have like a separate locker room, where now like women are more respected and like they're treated, like I just feel like women's wrestling has come such a long way, and like there's so many more opportunities now than there were back then. And like, I think it's though that, women supporting women more so now than ever. So yeah, I just think like the atmosphere is just different too. Like women are more supportive, which is great because I'm all about girl power and stuff. So
okay, and one more thing before I take it back to front row. Would you say there was any like specific inspiration for you to come back other than just improving health issues? Was there any wrestler in particular or anything in particular in the wrestling industry now that made you want to come back?
I mean, I would say like, the women's revolution, like that whole thing that really, triggered, women's wrestling, the state that it's in now. I feel like it really brought attention to it. And now, women are the main event now. And I think it's great. Like finally we're getting the respect that, that's been a long time coming for all the women that paved the way, through the years.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Yeah. And I mean, what really sparked, like pun intended, I guess I did this recent, earlier this year, back in January, the Shining Wizards, they were another podcast. They asked me, out of the blue, hey, I haven't been wrestling in like 14 years or anything. And this is just out of the blue, like, hey, we want to talk about your wrestling career. How you started at such a young age that like really kind of like brought back, the memories of wrestling and everything for me. And then, after that, my friend Shane Alden, he owns New Light Media Films, and him and I used to actually wrestle back in the day when we were teenagers for World of Hurt Wrestling. It's still around. So like, it's just like, I feel like life's coming full circle because like now he has that. And then he asked me, like, hey, I want to do this TV series about wrestling, and I never, found like the perfect story for it. And your story is very interesting and inspiring. Would you be interested in doing a TV series about it? I'm like, what? Like,
wow.
I'm not special. So like, that's how that whole thing started. So like, it really inspired me. Like, you know what? I could get back in the ring and do this again and not be afraid of like, like the injuries and stuff I've had.
Yeah.
And, just showing the girls, the actresses that were playing, me and, my friend in the show, showing them how to do the moves and stuff, kind of got like getting back in the ring. It really, brought back the passion and stuff like that I really missed about being in the ring. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad everything happened the way it did, because I wouldn't change it for the world. Like wrestling, I've always loved wrestling since I was like 3 years old. So it's always been in my life. So I couldn't imagine my life without wrestling, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's interesting that you talk about that, because we were in St. Louis for the Empower pay-per-view. And we had a chance to talk to Mickie James the day after, and just all of the incredible women that were a part of that event. And it was trending number 2 in the world. Like it was an enormously successful. So it basically, that was one of the things alongside Mission Pro that sort of demonstrated to the wrestling community that this is the thing to watch. This is what everybody wants. And I think Billy Corgan even mentioned in an interview that week that if you're a major promotion, if you don't have a strong women's division with talented wrestlers, then you're behind the curve. You know, you're not going to be, you're not in the game. You're not in the conversation. And of course we see that in AEW too, you know, Thunder Rosa being a big part of AEW now. And you had the opportunity recently to wrestle a few matches over there against Thunder.
Yeah.
I have some questions about that match, but before we get there, I want to ask about your return match against the Woad, because wow, that was at Mission Pro Wrestling in July or August, right? July, I think.
Yeah, I think it was August. I'm not sure.
August, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was over the summer, and it was a charity event, so it was an exciting pay-per-view. But what was that experience like for you, having, you know, your first match back, being part of such a cool place?
I mean, that was amazing. Like Mission Pro, I just love them all, like Brian, Thunder, and everybody. They treat everyone like family. So I mean, it's one of the best places I've ever been for wrestling, and like I'm so grateful for the opportunity that they gave me there, because it's such like a huge platform for women's wrestling and just wrestling in general. Like so many people are interested watching Mission Pro. They really bring a lot to the table, and there's so much talent. Like I'm just so proud to be a part of Mission Pro. And that match with the Woe, that was I survived it, you know what I mean? But she definitely was one of my biggest competitions. So but you know what, I went in there, I did what I had to do, and I survived. So I was really grateful for the opportunity, which being in Texas too, that was my first time in Texas, which that was really fun to be there and get to sightsee before with the other wrestlers there. So that was nice. It's just really awesome being there.
Yeah, it's a really cool environment. And from the people that we've spoken to who have been part of that locker room, it's a very collaborative thing where, you know, they help each other with, you know, matches and gear and like everything across the board. There doesn't seem to be any egos there. And I think that's a top-down approach. Brian and Thunder foster a more like collaborative environment. So that's why we support them, why we sponsor them. We're such big fans. But I wanted to ask you about your match with Thunder, because typically the matches that I've seen from you, you typically work as a good guy.
Yeah.
And in that match, the reaction that she got when she came out was overwhelmingly positive, and you got heavily booed, which, I mean, is fine. You got a great reaction. What was that experience like for you? It seemed unusual.
Oh my gosh, yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. It was crazy for me. I'm usually a good guy because, like, you know, I'm always smiling and, you know, it's hard for me to be a bad guy, but I really had to channel that, you know, inner, you know, bad guy there. But that was amazing. I'll never forget that, the ovation that she got. I was so proud of her that, you know, she was able to get that. And like, I almost had to catch myself from clapping like when she was coming out, because I was just so happy in that moment. Like, but I knew, I was like, I got to be the bad guy. So like, let me try and do that the best I could, which I did my best, you know, but I'll never forget that. What an opportunity. I'm still pitching myself still from that day in front of 20,000 people. That was just crazy. It was such a dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things we noticed too is that, you know, Mark Henry and Tony Schiavone and Eddie Kingston called your match. Like, that's pretty cool. We've had the opportunity to spend some time with Mark, and he told your story, which was really cool.
Yeah, he's oh my gosh, they're amazing people. Like Mark, him and I like had a heart to heart like backstage, and he just like he's such a nice person. Like they're all awesome there at AEW. Like they're such awesome people, and like Tony's another nice guy, and Eddie. They're all like wonderful people. Like I'm so grateful that I got to meet them, and like I was telling like Mark and Tony like I grew up watching you guys like on TV, and like Tony. He's famous for like calling Sting's matches like it's Sting, and like Sting was like my favorite guy growing up, and so yeah, it's just I can't believe that I was actually in the locker room with them and sharing the same ring with people wrestlers that I've idolized like growing up. So it's just an awesome like time in my life right now. Meeting.
Yeah, Mark Henry is a personal favorite of mine. I've met him several times so far, and he's the coolest person. The
He
coolest.
really, yeah, he does a lot for the community and stuff like that and outreach, and like he's just a really all around like awesome. He's like a big teddy bear.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
He is. So, and you've had two AEW matches. Your second one being against Riho. It was interesting because you don't typically work against folks that are smaller than you, and Riho's is. It was interesting to see the dynamic switched in that, where against the Woad, you were the smaller opponent, and then against Riho being the larger opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Was that difficult, or what was the transition like for you?
I guess, yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. I mean, it was nice for a change, to wrestle someone that was smaller, but Riho, she's amazing. Like I couldn't believe that opportunity as well. Like another huge opportunity, like first AEW Women's Champion, and she's amazing. Like she has so much talent, but yeah, it was fun wrestling her, and again, I had to be the bad guy, and like I remember during the match, I'll never forget it. It was like a pinch me moment where, I don't know if you heard, but the crowd, started chanting like "Let's go Riho" and then like "Let's go Kayla." So it was like interesting to see that, and like being in that moment, being in the ring, it was like, wow, I can't believe this is actually happening right now, But yeah.
It must be interesting as a smaller person to be against someone who's smaller than you, because me, I'm only 5'2". I'm used to being like my whole life I was the smallest person. My whole life I'm used to like not being able to see anything in a crowd. So that must be really interesting. Every time I meet someone who's shorter than me, I'm like, wow, I'm actually taller than someone.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely weird. It was like I'm usually like the smaller one too. I'm 5'5", and like I get it. Like it's just it was definitely a match out, because so many other girls are like so much bigger and stuff. But yeah. It was
Sweet.
Yeah.
So let's hope we get to see more of you in AEW or whoever's interested in bringing it. Could be anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it there. They treat everyone awesome, and it's such a great product, like AEW, WWE. I mean, like, it's always been my dream to be in WWE too. So like, I mean, any opportunity, I would just like be over the moon. Like that would be my dream come true. So.
Well, we've heard from Thunder and other people in the AEW locker room about what a positive experience it is with people like Dustin Rhodes and all the legends and the big the wealth of information that you have behind the scenes. Have you had the chance to talk to other people besides the folks that you've mentioned already?
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, he's a great guy. He actually helped me in my match with Thunder that night at Arthur Ashe Stadium, and he was there like by our side the whole time, and like I just remember him being so like supportive, and he was just such a positive like influence for me. It being my first AEW appearance and like my first match with Thunder and my first match in front of 20,000 people, and like he really calmed me before I went out on stage, and he actually he put his hands on my shoulders, and he's like, are you scared? And I said, no. He's like, are you nervous? And I said, good nerves though. He's like, well, that's good. He's like, you're gonna do great. He's like, I'm proud of you. He's like, go kill it out there. And I'll never forget that moment. Just before I went out on stage, that really meant a lot to me. So yeah, I owe him a lot. He's a really great guy, and he also was there for me when I went over to match with Rachel. So he's just always all around like backstage. He's the go-to guy. Like, but yeah, everyone there has been so helpful. Like, as far as like mentor. Like everyone's always lending an ear. Ruby Soho is another one that I really admire her because she's just an awesome person. Like she's just always helpful. She's always there, and I have so much respect for her too, with everything that she's done. So yeah, everyone's been awesome there. Like Jericho, and he's amazing, and Sting. He was like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and like everybody there is just amazing. Matt Hardy, I got to like talk to, and like everyone's just so awesome there.
That's cool. So let's hope to see you back. I see in the chat lots of people are very excited to see you here. We see Bobby over here is asking if you've ever had a match against Laney Luck. I think the reason he's asking that obviously is Laney Luck will be in competition against Thunder Rosa. So is she someone that you faced before?
No, I haven't, but if the opportunity came up, heck yeah.
Awesome. Did I see somewhere that you're on the card for next month for
next show yep, December 11th, the Salvation Army, again, the benefit show, so I'm excited for that.
Okay, yeah, I know Melanie from Mission Pro was on our show last week, and she did mention that Anakin would also be in action, teaming with Thunder.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God. I just can't wait for that. That's going to be amazing. I'm so proud of him that he's, following his mom's footsteps, and like that's going to be such an awesome dynamic duo. Like I can't wait to watch that and be there for that.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. One of the things I wanted to pick your brain about was so I'm a big supporter of the LGBTQ community. My son is gay and has never been closeted. Like we knew early on that he was gay and supported him. We just wanted good, happy, healthy kids, right? But that's not been the experience for a lot of his friends. And he's told, he shared a lot of stories. And so to bring it into wrestling, it seems like that's changed a lot in the best way. I interviewed Paro in St. Louis about this, and he said that the locker room has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years. And I was wondering from your experience, I know you're just recently back, but have you seen a positive change as well?
I mean, I haven't, like back then I wasn't out yet. So for me, I didn't experience anything like that or anything like that. But now I feel like it's just like in general, it's just a lot more accepting, which is great. I mean, there's no reason for anyone like, to bully or harass anyone if they're gay or not gay. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of world that we live in, which is nice that, I mean, so far, like the places I've wrestled, I haven't, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we're seeing, obviously people like Nyla Rose and Sunny Kiss are there because they're great wrestlers, not because they're, whoever they are. But I do like the representation, as an ally, sort of on the outside. But like, I still look at each company, and that is a measuring stick for me personally, like who I'm going to direct my support to. So, of course, Thunder and Mission Pro, like they have a little bit of everybody, right? All shapes and sizes there. So it's pretty cool to see. So it's pretty exciting for me. But there's still some work to do, but I think they're headed in the right direction.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. Like it's always good to have a diverse, people on your roster. So that's great that, Mission Pro and like, AEW and everyone it's a good time.
Yeah.
Did you have something? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I didn't really have anything to add at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's cool. I have a couple more questions. I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
So you've wrestled Mercedes Martinez a bunch of times, right? Early on in your career.
Just once, actually.
Oh, just once. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw an interview and I thought I heard that you had wrestled her more than once. That's cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, Mercedes, she was a really big mentor for me, like when I was younger in the business, and like she was just all right, like a locker room leader. She just always had like a positive mindset with everyone, and she always like looked out for everyone and watched everyone's matches and gave really good feedback. And that's really important for someone to have in your locker room because even back then she was like that, and that's why I always had like so much respect for her. And like, she's like one of my like really close friends, like in wrestling. And I'm just so proud of like all the accomplishments that she's done over the years, her 20+ year career, like that's outstanding. After injuries and setbacks and things like that, she's still doing it, and she still has so much more to go. Like, I'm so happy for her. And I got to wrestle her once. I think it was actually a triple threat against her and Cindy Rogers. She used to wrestle back then, and she was a really great technical wrestler. Cindy Rogers, she was great. And actually in the TV series, there's a character based off of Mercedes in there. So because she was just such a big influence for me for my wrestling career, and outside my wrestling career as friends. So she always had like the best advice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the TV show earlier. Has there been a premiere date set?
Not yet. We had the red carpet premiere, which I was hoping for a date soon, but we're trying to get it very uploaded on all the streaming platforms. But right now it's waiting on Amazon Prime. It should be up hopefully like within the next like week or two, but I don't know a date yet, unfortunately, but we're trying. I guess they're behind and stuff, but yeah, I hope it eventually be on Prime, Hulu, Revry TV, and all the other platforms there, which we're going to be trying to set up this weekend, like a social media account, like for the TV show, so that everyone can like stay in touch with everything and all the updates. But we're working on that, so I hope soon. Yeah, we just had the premiere back in the end of September, which actually Thunder Rosa came to that, which really meant a lot to me. She's amazing. I couldn't believe that she came that night, which to show support and everything, which is awesome. She's awesome.
That's very cool. Yeah, she's about as loyal as it gets.
I could go on and on about her and Brian, like all the amazing things that they've done for me. Like they're literally like angels on earth for me, because they literally like fell from the sky, like for me, for my life and like wrestling, and just like gave me all these opportunities, and I'm just so thankful for them. So yeah, so Mission Pro means a lot to me.
Yeah, I think we're all big fans of Thunder Rosa, unless you're Dave LaGreca, who's, we'll see how that's going to go tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up on the horizon besides Mission Pro in December?
I actually have Capital Championship Wrestling, which is in December as well. They're another great, all women's promotion that'll be coming up in Delaware, and that's also part of they're having a women's tournament for their first ever women's CCW championship, so that'll be exciting. But I'm excited for that, and just looking forward to working more about the TV series, trying to get that out. And hopefully other opportunities come up too with wrestling, for sure.
Our friend John is going to be at the CCW show in Delaware. Yeah.
I'll make sure to say hi.
He's looking forward to it.
He's in the chat,
awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Well, keep us posted with regards to the debut of the show, so we can help promote it, in whatever way we can.
That means a lot to me. Thank you. I'll definitely keep you posted.
Certainly. So I want to thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on and joining us tonight. Where can people find you on the socials?
Thank you, guys. No, I had a blast. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate this platform that you're giving me to like share my story and stuff, which means a lot. So thank you. You can find me on my Instagram, which is Kayla Sparks 247, and Facebook as well, the same, and Twitter is the same. So Kayla Sparks 247 is the account name for all three.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so awesome talking to you guys. Have a great night.
Yeah. You too.
You too. Talk soon.
Thank you.
She's all kinds of awesome.
Yeah. Very nice.
Well, in our green room is Trenda. I can see her getting ready. She wants to talk some AEW. She wants to talk, I don't know, maybe WWE. Let's bring her in. Trenda, what's up?
Hi guys, awesome interview. I loved it.
Yes. Yeah, that was fun.
Wow, I became a new fan of Kayla's today, so that's amazing.
Yeah, huge thank you to Brian and Thunder for reaching out and help make that happen. It was great, and hopefully, when the show comes out, we'll touch base with her again and talk more about that. That's gonna be pretty cool. Imagine having your show on like Amazon Prime, a story about your life at 33. Like that's really cool.
Really?
Yeah, it reminds
Really?
me a lot of Paige because Paige had a blockbuster movie made about her story. And, she was so young. And it's just amazing that someone wants to tell that story.
And, oh my God, just listening to the interview, like, she said she was 13 when she first started and had to stop at 19 because of a concussion. And then I'm
Yeah.
looking at her in this interview, and I'm like, she looks so young and she looks so fit and fabulous. And you can see all the passion that she has for wrestling. And so, you know, awesome. I'm a new fan. Good luck to Kayla.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember Thunder's socials. I remember her going to the red carpet, but I didn't put two and two together at the time. I wasn't really aware of Kayla at the time. But now, like, man, I'm a big fan. I'm going to go back and watch some more of her matches and definitely pay closer attention to her as her career progresses.
For sure.
So a bunch of stuff happened in the wrestling world this week. We have about 30 minutes or so to cover some stuff. I want to get people out of here so they can go get ready, for the pay-per-view, for the Mission Pro show. There were more releases in WWE this week.
A Mission Pro show, and you just, I just got on here. No.
Sorry. No.
Sorry. Sorry.
I guess this is quasi-repping Dave.
I thought he was in the middle.
It's Switzerland.
I'm Switzerland. I like both.
You sound like Tommy Dreamer. I support everyone.
Right, yes, I support everyone. Now don't call me a fraud.
Mrs. Front Row says, "Bew."
Okay,
awesome.
So I have, as my wife would say, some thoughts about this, about the releases. So, well, I mean, they're terrible, right? Nobody wants to lose their job. And Mark and Ryan talked about it, at length. It was yesterday and today.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it from a purely business perspective, take the person out of it, take the humanity out of it, which is hard to do. But Beth Phoenix said in an interview this week on Busted Open that they were being given more freedom in NXT. They were being told specifically to be themselves, to freelance a little bit more within, broadcast guidelines. And the talent were being told that too. So, okay, we always complain about Raw and SmackDown being heavily scripted. You got NXT talents being told, be more yourself, be more character driven. There's more freedom. So if I'm Vince, which obviously I have no idea what that's like, I would clear out the Raw and SmackDown people who are not good at freelancing, people who are not good at unscripted stuff. And I would continue to develop NXT talent who can, and then bring them up. So now you have a more modern product, but it's a painful process. It means getting rid of a lot of people. That's a good theory until you start looking at the people that they let go. And Miss Deb, I know you want to talk about this because Hit Row was really good.
Yes.
Like, they were awesome at their jobs. Like, they were so naturally gifted at entertaining, off the cuff, freestyle, like raps and music, and like everything about them was great. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about their appearance on Busted Open this morning.
Yeah. What an interview. My goodness. It struck me as, I don't know what's the word. Not really surprising, but a little shocking that they, opened their mouths and opinions to the point that they did. They really were speaking their mind, and I commend them for that. but yeah, it was, the kind of things they were saying about the issues they had to deal with, and just how they felt about how their time went. It was a little shocking, and it definitely, I think, cemented my opinion of how the WWE process is, even more than it already was.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
it was.
I
Go ahead,
I
Trina.
kind of I heard the interview today, and I got mixed feelings about it because I just the way it went, and if we're just gonna be honest and just throw it out there, because I mean they said it themselves. Basically, they felt more so that they were being not appreciated because of the color of their skin. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically what they said.
Some
I mean,
profiling.
it even got to a point where, I think Mark even said it's because of your pigment, So,
Right.
yeah. So, listening to that for me, it's just really hard because I'm such a wrestling fan. Like I'm a programmed wrestling fan. Like no matter what's been going on, layoffs, how many times we think Raw is bad, I'm consistently watching it every Monday night. I'm consistently watching SmackDown every Friday night. I've even really kind of forced myself to watch this NXT because I'm not really feeling it but at the same time I love wrestling. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
see what's going on. I want to give it a little more opportunity every week even though you know and I watch so many other wrestling promotions too, and then to have that being said, and at this day and age it was very hurtful for me, and that's just kind of how I felt.
Right.
I think we have to sort of separate the idea that the company is represented by one person, right? There are, we've heard about it before. This whole department's there. It's a major entertainment. It's a huge thing. So you could have five racist people in HR, but that doesn't mean the marketing people are. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
a conversation that they had, or an experience that they had with a certain person or a group of people, isn't necessarily indicative of the whole company. My issue is when it's a top-down approach. Now, my understanding is that Vince is not necessarily. So,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
do we support?
Mm-hmm.
I look at a company like AEW, and we know a couple of people that were fortunate enough to have conversations with people who are actually in the locker room, and it's a more progressive, not progressive, it's a more supportive, more diverse experience for them. And it
Yeah.
seems like in WWE, there's some legacy attitudes, for lack of a better term, some old school thinking that really needs to be weeded out. And maybe that's part of the HR process there. They need to weed all that
Yeah.
out. But
Well, really, something needs to happen because realistically, even just like with the interview you guys had with Kayla said, her goal, even with the releases this week, she said her goal is to be in WWE. And it's nothing wrong with that because that is the ultimate goal, realistically, of every wrestler since they was a little kid. Because that
Yeah.
was really the only thing that was out there. There weren't these extra opportunities that's actually just come about in the last few years.
yeah,
So I get that. So, but them being such a big corporation, them being so in the spotlight, you even if it's not, and like you said, like we know people who have relationships with Vince have always been positive, never heard anything negative or racist, in that sense. But that's still a part of your staff and your company.
Right.
You know what I mean? So and I don't know. It's something needs. It shouldn't be happening now. I just don't get it.
To
No, I
me,
agree.
it feels like from all the interviews we heard of people who've left WWE, whether they've left on their own terms or whether they were released, the past couple of years, it just seems like there's a whole issue with the whole process that so many people just, it doesn't work for the talent. Obviously, something's not working, that the talent themselves are not feeling satisfied because of this corporate chain of command or whatever it is, that I've heard several people say in interviews that they can't necessarily just go talk to Vince. They have to talk to someone and give them their idea, who has to give it to someone else, who has to give it to someone else, who has to then approach Vince. And, a lot of people have just felt like that system is not working.
Yeah, and if you listen to, people like Steve Austin and The Rock and all these people who are and Mick and people who are in the Attitude Era who earned that position to have those conversations with Vince, that was 20 years ago. That's not
Right.
where they are now. And, Isaiah Swerve Scott is not going to have the same conversations or opportunities with Vince that Roman is. They're just not at the same place on the card. So to say when the veterans say, well, you just have to have a relationship with him, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You don't just walk in and start having that relationship. You have to build that over time. You have to build equity over time and
show your value.
Right.
Yeah, and they can't do that when they get let go like a week or two after they get brought up to the main roster. Like these guys didn't even have a chance to show anything. Hardly at all.
Yeah.
It's really
and I think
sad.
that's part of the
It's
problem
sad.
too, is a lot of people are not being given the opportunity to show the talent that they have. There are so many people that are extremely talented, even the people that are still in WWE that just, we may not be seeing them a lot or not seeing them, in the best light. I just don't think they're given the opportunity to show what they can really do.
Yeah, because there's quite a few people left on that roster that we really don't see at all.
Right.
That we haven't seen in so long. So I totally agree.
Yeah, and Seth brings up a good point in the chat. It's getting harder and harder to get invested in a storyline that has people in it that could just be gone next week.
Right.
And for no fault of their own, it's just because somebody higher up or somebody in a different department decided that they need to get rid of these people because either they cost too much or their contract's coming up or, the rumors that the possibility of them being for sale. And Mrs. Front Row brings up a good point too. The metrics do have to support these decisions. Like, obviously they're making these decisions based on a business need. We don't have visibility into why they're doing that. All we know is our favorite people don't have jobs anymore. Or not even our favorite people, but people we almost cared about for a minute.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, I think in the case of Hit Row, they spent a decent chunk of time recently building them up and telling us that we should care about them. And I think being that they're a rap group, they are extremely appealing to a younger audience that listens to basically only rap. And they told us that we should care. They told us that we should get invested in them. They told us that they are important, and then they just let them go.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And I'll make a comparison that Tony Justice will appreciate. To me, NXT 2.0 is the Metallica Black Album. It's a great album, but it is a very different. There's a huge difference in the band from Justice right to the Black Album. They're very different. Mm-hmm. However, the Black Album is an awesome album on its own. It's a spectacular metal album. And going forward, the band was great. So if you look at NXT 2.0 being that transition into a different but still great product, okay, fine. What I thought was interesting about 2.0 is, and as you mentioned, Hit Row, because they are young and fresh and they have, a more, hate to use the term hip, but it's that,
that's exactly what I was thinking, a hip vibe.
Yeah, they
Right,
have
yeah.
they had a vibe
Yeah.
that would appeal more to the under 50 crowd and a more diverse audience, which I know has been an issue for them. So
Yeah.
they were
Pretty
such
much
a
to the under 30 crowd, which is what they're trying to
Really,
go for,
actually,
it
yeah.
seems.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you see that and you go, all right, well, I'm watching this show. They're awesome. They're a big part of it. They've got men and women from all walks of life on this show. They've got younger talent, veteran talent. It was a nice blend. Like the first month, I thought was a really sweet spot for this new show. And then they cleared all these people out, and I'm going, well, now you're bringing in a whole bunch of you're bringing in more and more new talent that we're not familiar with. For me as a consumer, I need to have a stable of people I'm comfortable with, and then slowly work new people in. Don't give me
Exactly.
60, 70, 80% new talents, because I'm just not going to watch.
Yeah. And the new talent that's, fresh into the PC, they're not ready for TV yet. They're, a lot of them are probably not ready for live television.
Yeah, I don't know. BFAB was not. And I would never criticize someone's in-ring ability, but I don't think she had a whole bunch of matches under her boots on TV.
Right.
No, but she was great with the group and as an entertainer and everything.
Yeah.
But you're right, as far as the in-ring ability, she did need, you could tell that it wasn't,
She was just at the beginning of her career. It's fine.
Yeah.
which
this
they
is-
were left
And
in
that's what they were supposed to do, is have them be at the
I was just gonna say, which
center
if they were
to
left as the
train.
NXT, then that would have been fine,
Yeah.
because isn't that what NXT was supposed to be, developmental? So that
Right.
is where she should have been left at, so that she can develop.
Yeah, these are the people that are not quite ready for live TV yet. They still
Yeah.
need to train. They still need
Yeah.
experience.
Well, and that's what we talked about before, because pre-pandemic, the model was you would go to the PC, you would get training, then you would do the live events, you would do the Florida loop, the coconut loop for a period of time, and then eventually when you got good enough and they felt you were ready for TV, you'd go on the regular TV show, and even that was before it was on USA. So that show was on the network. That wasn't even being viewed by a couple 100,000 people maybe or whatever. And then you would eventually go to Raw and SmackDown. So that was a very clean progression. And then when they get moved to USA, now it's a viable, cable show.
Yeah.
And from what I understand from the people that I've talked to over there, it did not do what it was supposed to do financially and from a viewership perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Us hardcore people, we were like, this is our NXT. We love it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a product that they could viably keep in its previous format.
Yeah.
So, all right, I get the refresh. It's fine. But then one of the problems that we always talk about is even now they're developing talents who they're bringing up to the main roster. They're changing them. And you just don't, they're I hate to say ruining because that's not fair. From a character perspective, they're ruining the characters that I invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And then a month later, they're gone. Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Mia Yim. I mean, the list goes on of all the people who were incredible NXT talents, and then they're just gone. And who do we have left? I mean, if you watch Raw and SmackDown, it's the same people every week. There's nothing fresh about those shows except for maybe 2, maybe 3 storylines, right?
Yeah.
And that's in 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, like, tomorrow's Survivor Series, we'll watch it because it's a fun show. Like, it's a fun pay-per-view. But I think literally
programmed.
Yeah, well.
Well, we all know I canceled the Peacock, so.
We know that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I don't have the courage, Deb. I can't do.
It took me a little bit. It was like 2 months of thinking, and then I can't remember what was the straw that broke the camel's back, but it might have been the batch of releases that happened just before SummerSlam that I was like, that's it. I'm canceling after SummerSlam. I can't do it anymore.
I gotta treat WWE like I treat my life. Sometimes I get mad or get angry at people, situations, and I give myself that whole day just to be angry and to blah, blah, blah about it. But when I wake up the next day, I'll start fresh.
Well, and it was months and months and months of watching Raw, not being interested in it whatsoever, unfortunately,
I watched
until me
all
and
those
Seth both
episodes.
finally said, you know, do you want to watch something else tonight? Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the
Wow.
thing. You look at
You had
AEW and you're like,
support. You
You
had
look-
support.
you look at something like AEW and they end each show with a cliffhanger that you're like, oh, okay, I got to watch next
Yeah.
week. I got to find out what's going to happen. I have to pay for the
Mhm.
pay-per-view because they've
Mhm.
built 5 storylines that I need to see a payoff to. And guess what?
Oh
That's
my
what they're going to
God,
do.
5.
Tony,
Yeah.
Tony Khan's going to give you payoffs to these storylines.
Yeah.
And it's old school and it works. And
Yeah. And you know what? Tony Khan comes on Busted Open every week and says, "Hey guys, we got a great card for you tonight." But he's not wrong.
okay, so
The card
quick.
is great.
real quick, I have to shout out Ryan McKinnell because week after week after week, we get Tony time and it's an infomercial, and I don't listen because it's an infomercial.
I do.
I'm going to watch the show anyway. I don't need him to tell me how great the show is going to be. However, today on yesterday rather, on Busted Open, Ryan engaged him respectfully, but he engaged Tony in a conversation that got Tony talking about all kinds of stuff. It was really good. I messaged Ryan. I said, dude, that was the best Tony time I've heard. It was incredible. Yeah. And that's what he needs to do.
Amazing conversation. He delved deeper into some topics and elaborated other than just, going over what the card's going to be. It was amazing.
And he even openly spoke about WWE and the releases.
Yes. That was shocking as well.
He mentioned them. Yeah.
I don't know if he should be doing that or not, but I was glad Ryan got the interview. Ryan and Mark got the interview.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was glad that he did speak out about it because I don't think he said anything that would be deemed controversial.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he really didn't say anything bad. He just said, he has a more family base, and when he say family base, he means that he understands that even right now, and we are still kind of in a pandemic, and like even during the time that he bit the bullet for whatever the cost of whatever it was for the staff that he had,
right.
Everybody, but I think it's more so, again, if we're looking at it on the business side, he is an individual compared to WWE who has stockholders that they have to answer to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he still has to answer to his father who provided the funding, the capital for AEW. Like he still has to show that it's a viable business.
Yeah,
and it's successful.
I get that, but
and
it's probably
it is
a whole lot easier to talk to dad than to a whole.
Right.
Yeah. But it's also an easy conversation to have when Cody said when he was on the show last year that anything over the 450 to 500,000 viewer range for Dynamite was financially successful. They're hovering around 1 million every week. So obviously Turner must be thrilled with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I am. So
right.
I know I am.
We only have a couple more minutes, but I wanted to pick your brains about the Charlotte and Becky match. We keep seeing all these shoot interviews, which, all right, isn't really a thing, but we're seeing them in social media, in print, and video, like all these different formats that are away from the television product, and they're telling a great story. And it's we're all educated wrestling fans, and I watch some of this stuff. I'm like, I don't know what's real and what's not, and I'm very happy that I don't. Like, I'm really happy that I don't really know what's going on, but I need to see it play out at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was at work today, and I got a Bleacher Report notification on my phone that said Becky Lynch did an exclusive interview and says relationship with Charlotte cannot be repaired. And I was like, oh, I have to watch this interview. So I went and listened to it, and it was it was more than just a few minutes long. I think it was maybe 10, 15 minutes long. But it was a very good interview that got me even more invested in what they're doing, got me even more confused whether or not this is, embellished a little bit or not. And you know, I do like that they're doing these shoot interviews, whether they are or not, we don't know, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, so it's something we talked about. Sam Roberts talks a lot about this idea of new kayfabe, where there's old school kayfabe, which is just behind the curtain stuff, and then the new idea is this whole layer of reality that's being woven to sort of take the smart fan and go, well, you don't really know what's going on. We're going to give you all of this stuff that's going to confuse you, and you're going to think you know what's going on, but you really don't know what's going on. And I am totally here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. She spoke about Charlotte feeling like she has a birthright to be the top person, you know, to be the star, that, you know, there can only be one person on the top. Becky has worked her butt off, and you know, she said they used to be friends, they are not anymore, and she doesn't know if there's ever a way to go back.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I know that watching their promos this week, watching the little production that they put together of both of the promos, and they aired it on SmackDown. I'm ready to watch them two fight, because I don't know if it's a work or a shoot. I just know they are gonna hit each other really, really hard, and somebody is gonna be laid out in that ring, and I need to see it. Period. That's it for me.
In other words, somebody's gonna get their ass kicked.
Thank you. Exactly. Shouts out to Mark.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Henry and all the folks from Busted Open who are out in Texas tonight for the Mission Pro Wrestling pay-per-view. We've got about 30 minutes left before the show's going to go live, so I think we're gonna leave everyone alone tonight. We're going to go over and get our food and get all set up for our pay-per-view. Yes. Tonight was a lot of fun. It was great having Kayla on the show and hashing up some of this stuff. So where can everybody find you guys on the social? Deb?
At That's So Debonair on Twitter. I try to post frequently. I am also now in charge of the social media advertising for the Nation's Corner. So I try to post every day. You know, let everyone know what we're doing, what's going on with us.
And I'm on Twitter at Great Times Ahead.
Nice. And I am Front Row, PW Front Row now. And I did want to give a shout out to our friends over at the NWA. You know, Gary, Will, and Doc host the post show. And they put our show over a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. And just as a preview, in 2 weeks, a large group of us, I think 8 or 9 of us, are going to be descending upon Atlanta for 4 days of all kinds of fun for Hard Times 2, the pay-per-view. There's a new show being recorded Friday night, and then a couple days of power tapings, and we'll be back in the GPB studios. So I'm looking forward to going. I know Trenda's going to be there.
Yes,
sorry, Deb.
I'm going. It's going to be my first time ever in the studios. It's the original home of the NWA. I can't wait.
Power.
Oh, sorry. Power.
Yeah.
Power.
Well, I mean, NWA is like 73 years old, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well,
I don't want to get a nasty text from Gary.
But I can't wait for the trip. It's going to be awesome.
It is. And some of us are going to be at WrestleCade next weekend. I will be, Mrs. Front Row and I will be and Steven will be at WrestleCade attending the Busted Open party with Dave and Mark and Danhausen and Matt Hardy. And there's Ladies Night Out on Sunday, which is this massive women's pay-per-view event hosted by Title Match Network with, you know, I think Thunder's facing Kylan King, and it's just the biggest names in independent wrestling, and some AEW talents are going to be on that show. And the Saturday show is going to be crazy as well. So keep an eye on our social media. We're all going to be trying to post stuff and sharing things over the next few weeks heading into the holidays. Again, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We are at Nation's Corner on Twitter and The Nation's Corner everywhere else.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate everybody joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Later, guys.